Hello, everybody. Good day. How are we all doing today? So, for this lesson, I'll be walking us through how we can install VirtualBox and OWASP BWA because that will be our controlled environment for this series, right? So, we don't want to run our Nmap scans on different target hosts or on target hosts that we don't have permission to. So we will be using OWASP BWA to conduct all our scans and practices, right? So if you're using Windows operating system, you can install OWASP BWA on your virtual box, right? So you probably have Nmap installed on WSL, or you have Nmap installed on another virtual machine, right? So you have Kali or Ubuntu, any Linux distro on another virtual machine, while you have OWASP BWA running on another virtual machine, because both of these virtual machines have to be running. They have to be running for you to be able to perform these scans, because if you're scanning OWASP BWA and it's the virtual machine is not running, there's no way Nmap will be able to access your targets. So if you're using Windows, that is one way you can go about it. But if you're using Ubuntu like I am, or you're using Kali, you're using CentOS, any Linux distro, you don't need to have WSL installed, or you don't need to have any other Linux distro installed in a VirtualBox. All you have to do is download a VirtualBox or VMware, and then you install OWASP BWA, and then you run it whenever you want to perform your scans, right? So we are walking you through installing virtual machine or VirtualBox, and then you also install OWASP BWA, and then you run it. So follow me closely and let's begin. Right. So first and foremost, we'll start with installing virtual machine. So I'll be using VirtualBox, but you can go through virtual machine. It's the same process, just that it's in different websites. So we have VirtualBox. You click. So you install the latest version, right? So here we have Ubuntu 24.0 and 24.10. You can click on it, right? I already have this installed, so I don't want to install it again, right? So I have it installed already. So you click and then it installs. So once it's finished installing, you navigate to the directory on your laptop, on your system where you install this. So I'm just going to print out, and then if you look closely, this is what I just installed now, VirtualBox 7.1. That's the latest version, which I just downloaded today, installed today. So you change the mod, right, to executable. Okay, right. So we can do ls-l, and then it's executable. You can see the color changed to green, so it's executable now. So we can go ahead to install the dpkg -i, and then we have VirtualBox. So it's going to continue installing, begin installing rather. So without wasting of time, let's start installing our OWASP BWA. Right, so you can follow this guide. I'll be dropping the link in the description. If you probably want to go back to this at your own time, you can follow this guide to install OWASP BWA, right? But then I wanted to do it live so you can hear me speaking and me doing it. So let's download OWASP BWA, and then you see SourceForge. You click. Right, so I already have it installed too, so you could just come and go ahead and click download here, and then automatically it begins to download everything you need for you, but I have it installed, so you have to just download it and wait for it to finish downloading. Now, after it finishes downloading, I'm going to navigate to where I have it installed, and here it is. I have it here. So you extract it. You can right click and then you extract. Right. So I already have the extract. I have the extract here. So everything in that zip file is right here, right? So I have it installed already. Now our VirtualBox is still running, it's still installing while you extract that and wait. So after extracting, you'll see these files, 11 files in your extracted folder, and then we would go ahead to install our open OWASP BWA from there. So let's check and wait for it to keep on storing. Right, so our VirtualBox is installed, right? So you can search Oracle and then we open. So it's open, right? So what do we do next? You come to file, come to machine. This is not the first thing it's supposed to show you, but I had this running. So when it opens, you go to add. There's something that's going to pop up here. Right, so I was using this, that's why this popped up, but then you can change it back to welcome. Right, so this is the default thing, this is the first thing you're going to see. Right, so you click on new and then you call OWASP BWA, anything you want to call it, but I prefer to call it BWA. Right, BWA, this. Now it's a Linux, you're installing it on a Linux distro, a Linux operating system, so you choose Linux and then it configures it for you. You go to next. You can alter this, increase the memory, you have more processors, you add the processors, right? Then you click on next. Now, we don't want this. Instead, since it is not an operating system, it is a virtual machine, we're going to use an existing virtual hard disk file. So it's empty here, right? It's empty, so we have to now click to go and access the file we need. So let's add. So you add, click on add, and then it takes you to, let's open this, right. So you see, we have different files here. You notice they said all hard disk files, right? You can choose it to something else, but then all hard disk files. The point is that it's going to filter only the possible files you might need. Now, it's important to note that you're not to pick any of the files from here down. Sorry. Right, so let's add. Go to where you had it. Right, you're not supposed to pick any file that has this S0054 or any of the numbers. Rather, you pick OWASP broken web apps cl1.vmdg. That's the file you're picking. Right, so we open and then we choose. So you go to next. So you check if everything is okay for you. You finish. So we've created our virtual machine. All we have to do now is run it. Now, before you run it, you have to check the network. Yeah, so you come to the network. If you notice, we're using NAT, right? We're using NAT here. Yes, we're using NAT. And it's not recommended that you use NAT for when you're running OWASP BWA virtual machine. You're supposed to use the host network adapter, host only adapter, right? And we have it here. Now, I already have this configured. That's why the option was picked, right? So I clicked it and it's okay. But then since you're just doing this newly, you need to configure the host network adapter first. So what you do is you go to tools, you click here, and then you see network, right? Click on network, and then you can create. So the option is on host only at networks here. So you create, when you create it, automatically get something for you, and you have it here. So this is what would be able enable your virtual machine to run securely, right? So we have our host network adapter, we have our OWASP BWA installed, see, right? So what we then need to do is we start. So we start BWA. Yeah, finally. So you can open this more. This is running. Okay. Right, so on your terminal, you can just change directory to home, or you can stay where you are if you want, then run Nmap. Remember, you already have Nmap installed if you're following the series closely. So you have Nmap running. You have Nmap running, right? Yeah. So let's wait for this. Okay. So it's still booting. Depends on your system. If your system is fast, this would finish on time. If yours is not, it might take a longer period of time. Right, so we have this up and running. I had to pause the videos, the recording rather, so it wouldn't waste much of our time. Right, so if you look closely here, it said login with username root and password OWASP BWA. Right, username root OWASP BWA. I remember when I was trying this for the first time, I didn't see the instruction. I was thinking username was OWASP and the password was the same thing. It was busy telling me incorrect login, incorrect login. I was so frustrated. So you have to take your time to look at these things. Right. So we have this running. Now, this is our target, in case you did not know, right? This is our target, and by that I mean this is what we'll be using to scan using Nmap, right? So we're not going to be scanning Google, we're not going to be scanning scanme.nmap.org, none of that. But if you have your home network and you want to try, please do that, right? But for the sake of this series, we need a controlled environment, so I'm choosing OWASP. So if you look closely, it said you can access the web apps at http 192.168.56.102, right? So you can go to your browser, right? So we check out 192.168.56. I'm not sure if it's 101, so okay, 102. 102. So this should run. If it doesn't, that means there's a problem with your installation, so you have to go back to check again. So you see, this is OWASP BWA, and we're running it on our virtual machine, and these are our targets. Now, OWASP BWA, as you see, Broken Web Applications Project. That means this is a list of broken web applications, vulnerable web applications. These web applications were built with the purpose of practicing, testing, scanning, basically to help you build, right? So you don't have problem looking for applications to use. So you can see we have OWASP web codes, right? You can open anyone. So we don't want to sign in, right? So you see, right? So this is our target, and that is our web address. So it's this IP address we'll be using, right? We'll be using for our scans. So you can navigate back to Nmap, and then we do Nmap, right? You can access that. So if you want, you can still check the IP address using ifconfig, right? So it's no point because it's already provided here, but then you can, just to be sure, you can still check the IP address using this here, right? So we don't want to capture that, so let's go back. Right, so you can, what we have to do is just this 192.168.56.102. Right, so you see, now you see we can scan at any time we want and we would not have any problems. So Nmap scan for this, that's our target, and from that we made to understand that port 22, port 80, port 22 is SSH, port 80, which is HTTP, port 139, all these ports are open from our virtual machine. So you see, that's how you can go about this. And if you have any problems whatsoever you want to ask for the sake of this installation, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on my YouTube channel, right? In the comment section. Notwithstanding, in case of you want better understanding, you can go online to browse these things, and you can also check out this process of installation, which I stumbled across, right? So this can help you. The only problem is the version of virtual machine he used is a little bit different from ours, but then this would not give you any problems. So that is it